Welcome to Moonlit Ink BL. Tonight's story unfolds beneath quiet skies and unspoken feelings. Get comfortable, breathe deep, and let the words find you.
Chapter 1 Moonlit. Ryan Evans was the kind of man who mistook exhaustion for peace. Most nights, the lights in the top-floor office of Evans Corporation stayed on long after the rest of the building had gone dark. At 11, at midnight, sometimes even at 2 in the morning, Ryan would still be there. Tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, eyes fixed on lines of text that blurred together if he stared too long. People assumed it was dedication or ambition. After all, he was the CEO. But the truth was simpler and far lonelier. Ryan couldn't sleep. He hadn't slept properly in years. Not the kind of sleep that sank into your bones and left you warm when you woke. His nights were spent staring at the ceiling, counting shadows, listening to the faint hum of the city outside his penthouse window. Sleeping pills stopped working months ago. Even exhaustion no longer guaranteed rest. So instead of lying awake in bed, he stayed where his mind felt busiest, his office. Work gave his thoughts somewhere to go. Contracts, numbers, deadlines. Anything was better than silence. Tonight was no different. At exactly 11:07 p.m., Ryan leaned back in his chair and rubbed a hand over his face, eyes burning from the screen. The contract in front of him was important, but the words refused to settle in his mind. He exhaled slowly, tension clinging stubbornly to his shoulders. His phone buzzed. A message from Mitchell. "Mitchell, try this." A link followed. Ryan frowned, thumb hovering over the screen. "Ryan, huh? What?" The reply came almost immediately. "Mitchell, just listen. Might help you sleep." Ryan scoffed softly. Mitchell had always been like this, quietly attentive, never prying but always noticing. One of the few people who knew just how bad Ryan's insomnia had become. Music, Ryan thought, or another podcast. He'd tried everything: white noise, classical playlists, guided meditation. None of it worked. Still, curiosity won. He tapped the link. The screen opened to a live stream. No camera, no face, just a simple logo in the center. A crescent moon cradling tiny, twinkling stars against a dark background. The channel name read, Moonlit. Before Ryan could question it further, a soft sound filled the room. Humming. Low, gentle, almost hesitant. As if the person behind the microphone wasn't sure they wanted to be heard. Ryan froze. The melody wasn't anything complex, just a simple tune carried by a warm, steady voice. It flowed like quiet water, unhurried and careful. The kind of sound that didn't demand attention but invited it. His shoulders eased before he realized they had been tense. Why does this feel different? Ryan had listened to countless voices before. Radio hosts, narrators, singers. But this one slipped past his defenses entirely. It didn't echo. It didn't overwhelm. It wrapped around him, soft and unassuming, like a blanket placed gently over tired shoulders. He leaned back into the lounge chair without meaning to, the leather creaking softly beneath him. The office lights felt too bright now, but he didn't bother turning them off. His eyes fluttered shut anyway. The humming continued, joined by occasional murmured words. Slow, thoughtful, meant to soothe rather than entertain. Ryan didn't even catch what was being said. He didn't need to. For the first time in years, his mind went quiet. Just a few minutes, he thought drowsily. I'll rest my eyes. The stream played on. And then nothing. When Ryan stirred again, warmth brushed his face. He blinked, disoriented, the world coming back in fragments. The office was unfamiliar for a moment. Too bright, too still. Sunlight streamed through the tall glass windows, painting the floor in soft gold. He straightened abruptly, heart pounding. What? His watch read 8:03 a.m. Ryan stared at it, unblinking. 8 hours. He had slept for 8 uninterrupted hours. A slow, disbelieving breath left his chest as realization settled in. His body felt light. His head didn't ache. His chest wasn't tight with the usual dull panic of another sleepless night. For the first time since his insomnia had taken hold, Ryan Evans had slept peacefully. His gaze drifted to his phone, still resting in his hand. The stream had ended. The crescent moon logo lingered on the dark screen, quiet and unassuming, just like the voice that had carried him into rest. Ryan swallowed, something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. Moonlit, he thought, and without knowing why, he already wanted to hear that voice again. Chapter 2, Night After Night. Ryan told himself it was temporary, just something to help him reset his sleep schedule. Just a voice, a stream, background noise no different from rain or wind or static. That was what he repeated to himself as he opened the link again the following night. And the night after that. By the end of the week, it had become a routine. At exactly 10:45, Ryan would finish whatever he was working on, whether it was a financial report or an email he'd rewritten 3 times without meaning to, then dim the lights in his office. The city outside would glow in quiet fragments, distant headlights and blinking signs softened by the height of the building. At 11, Moonlit went live. The familiar logo appeared on his screen. The crescent moon, the scattered stars. Ryan felt his chest loosen at the sight of it, a reaction that startled him every time. Get a grip, he told himself, leaning back in his chair. It's just a stream. But when the voice came through his speakers, warm, unhurried, low enough that it felt like it belonged in the dark, Ryan's thoughts slowed all the same. Good evening, Moonlit said softly. I hope you've all had a gentle day. The word gentle lingered. Ryan exhaled, fingers loosening their grip on his phone. He didn't respond in the chat. He never did. He simply listened, letting the hum of Moonlit's voice settle into the space around him. Some nights, Moonlit read short passages. Nothing dramatic, just quiet reflections, poetry, or bits of prose that felt chosen carefully. Other nights, he hummed again, the melody slightly different each time, as if it were shaped by his mood. Ryan noticed things he hadn't meant to. The way Moonlit paused before speaking, like he was making sure his words wouldn't disturb anyone. The soft laugh he let out when he stumbled over a sentence. The way his voice dipped lower when the night grew deeper. He sounds like he's afraid of being too loud, Ryan thought once, surprising himself with the intimacy of the observation. He started moving from his desk to the lounge chair earlier each night. The leather had begun to mold to his shape, a faint indentation marking where he slept now more often than not. Sometimes he left his jacket folded neatly over the armrest. Sometimes he didn't bother removing it at all. Sleep came easier than it ever had. Ryan still woke once or twice in the night, the way his body had been trained to do, but now he drifted back under within minutes. No racing thoughts, no counting cracks in the ceiling, just the low murmur of Moonlit's voice, steady and patient, like it wasn't going anywhere. By the 5th night, Ryan realized something was wrong. He was waiting for it. All day, between meetings and calls, he found himself glancing at the clock. 10:30, 10:45. He felt a subtle shift in his mood as night approached, a quiet anticipation he hadn't felt toward anything in years. That realization made his stomach tighten. This isn't healthy, he thought, staring out at the city from his office window. You can't rely on a stranger's voice to sleep. Yet when 11 came and the stream went live, relief washed through him so quickly it was almost dizzying. The chat scrolled slowly on the side of the screen, usernames, soft greetings, little crescent moon emojis. Ryan read them without joining, an invisible presence among many. He liked it that way. Anonymity felt safe. He didn't have to explain who he was, or why he was awake, or why his chest felt hollow even when he was surrounded by people during the day. One night, Moonlit spoke a little more than usual. I think nights are kinder than we give them credit for, he said quietly. They're lonely, yes, but they also let us rest from pretending. Ryan's breath caught. Rest from pretending. He didn't know why the words struck so deeply. He lived most of his life pretending. Pretending he wasn't exhausted, pretending he wasn't lonely, pretending that success filled the spaces that mattered. Moonlit continued, unaware of the effect he was having. If you're listening right now, I hope you know you don't have to be anything more than you are. Ryan closed his eyes. For the first time, the thought didn't scare him. When the stream ended that night, the silence felt heavier than it had before. Ryan sat in the darkened office for a long moment, the absence of that voice suddenly noticeable. He checked the time. 11:58 p.m. He always ends before midnight, Ryan realized. Like he doesn't want to overstay. The thought lingered with him as he lay down. Sleep still finding him, but slower this time. As the nights passed, a quiet fear took root beneath the comfort. What if Moonlit stopped streaming? What if one night the link led to nothing? Ryan hated how much that thought unsettled him. He hated even more that he didn't try to stop himself from opening the stream again the next night. Because when Moonlit was there, soft-voiced and steady, the night no longer felt endless. And Ryan, for the first time in a very long while, didn't dread the dark. Chapter 3, Typing in the Dark. The night Ryan spoke, it wasn't planned. He had his phone in one hand and his tablet resting on the arm of the lounge chair. Moonlit stream already playing through the office speakers. The lights were dim. The city below blurred into scattered points of gold. Everything felt familiar, comfortingly so. Moonlit had just finished humming, letting the final note fade naturally into silence. Ryan waited for him to speak again, breathing slow, steady. Instead, Moonlit sighed, soft, almost imperceptible. "Is anyone still awake with me?" The question wasn't directed at anyone in particular. It wasn't playful or performative. It sounded genuine, like the kind of question you asked into the dark when you weren't sure you wanted an answer. Ryan's thumb hovered over his phone. The chat moved slowly. A few responses appeared, short greetings, crescent moons, hearts. Ryan read them, then looked away. "You don't need to," he told himself. "You're fine like this." But something about the quiet that followed tugged at him. The thought of Moonlit sitting alone somewhere, speaking into a microphone without knowing who was listening, felt suddenly too real. Before he could second-guess himself, Ryan typed, "Night Owl, I'm still here." The message appeared in the chat, small and unassuming. Ryan's heart thudded once, hard. Too late now. There was a pause, just long enough for doubt to creep in. Then Moonlit spoke. "I see you," he said gently. "Thank you for staying." Ryan stared at the screen, warmth blooming in his chest at the simple acknowledgement. It shouldn't have meant that much. It really shouldn't have. Moonlit continued, his tone softening even further. "I hope the night's been kind to you." Ryan swallowed. He typed again, slower this time. "Night Owl, it's been quieter than usual." Moonlit hummed thoughtfully. "Quiet can be good," he said. "Sometimes it gives us space to breathe." Ryan leaned back, eyes tracing the ceiling. Breathe, he thought. He hadn't realized how often he forgot to. The chat remained respectful, sparse. No one interrupted. It felt like a shared understanding that this was a small, careful moment. After a pause, Moonlit added, "If you don't mind me asking, are you having trouble sleeping tonight?" Ryan hesitated. He could ignore it, let the question pass into the dark. He'd done that his whole life, dodged questions that came too close. But this felt different, safer. "Night Owl. Most nights, yeah." Moonlit didn't rush to respond. When he did, his voice was warm, steady. "I'm glad you're here then. You don't have to do anything. Just listen." Ryan closed his eyes. He doesn't ask why, Ryan realized. He doesn't push. The rest of the stream passed quietly. Moonlit read a short piece about nighttime rain, his voice rising and falling gently. Ryan listened, heart settling into a slow, even rhythm. Before ending the stream, Moonlit spoke again. "Thank you for keeping me company tonight," he said. "All of you. It means more than you think." The stream ended. Ryan remained still, phone resting against his chest. He had spoken, just a few words, yet the silence afterward felt different. Less empty, more full. As he lay down and closed his eyes, sleep found him easily, but his thoughts lingered. "Night Owl," he repeated to himself, a name chosen without thought, yet somehow fitting. For the first time, Ryan wondered if Moonlit remembered usernames, if he would recognize it again tomorrow night. The thought made his lips curve into the faintest smile. In the quiet, Ryan drifted to sleep. Not alone, not entirely unseen. Chapter 4, When the Voice Falters. Ryan noticed it immediately. Moonlit stream went live at the usual time, the crescent moon glowing softly on his screen, but something felt off. Ryan sat up straighter in the lounge chair, fingers curling slightly around his phone as the familiar voice filled the room. "Good evening," Moonlit said. The words were the same. The voice was not. It was still gentle, still warm, but thinner somehow, stretched too tightly over something unspoken. The pauses between sentences lingered a little longer than usual, like Moonlit was searching for his footing in the dark. Ryan frowned. He's tired, Ryan thought. Not the pleasant kind of tired that followed a long day, but the kind that sank deeper, settling behind the voice. Moonlit began humming, the melody slower than usual. The notes wavered faintly before steadying, and Ryan felt his chest tighten at the sound. He's forcing it. Ryan's thumb hovered over the chat. He hadn't typed much since that first night, only brief greetings, quiet acknowledgments. He didn't want to intrude, but as Moonlit's humming faded, replaced by a soft exhale, the urge to stay silent felt wrong. "I'm sorry if I'm a little quieter tonight," Moonlit murmured. "It's been one of those days." Ryan's breath caught. "One of those days." He typed, "Night owl. You don't have to push yourself." The message appeared almost immediately. There was a pause, longer this time. Then Moonlit let out a small, surprised laugh. "Thank you," he said softly. "I forget that sometimes." Ryan leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees. He didn't look away from the screen. Moonlit spoke less that night. He read shorter passages, his voice dipping lower, as if conserving energy. Each pause stretched a little too long, and Ryan found himself counting them, waiting for the sound of him again. Is he okay? Ryan wondered. The thought lingered, unfamiliar and unsettling. He wasn't used to worrying about someone he'd never met, someone whose face he'd never seen. Yet here he was. At one point, Moonlit stopped mid-sentence. Silence filled the stream. Ryan's heart stuttered. Then Moonlit cleared his throat quietly. "Sorry," he said. "Lost my place." Ryan typed without thinking. "Night owl. Take your time. We're here." Moonlit went quiet again. When he spoke, his voice was softer than Ryan had ever heard it. "That means more than you know." Something in Ryan's chest shifted, warm and aching at once. The rest of the stream felt different. Not weaker, but more honest. Moonlit didn't try to fill every space. He let the silence breathe, and Ryan stayed with him through all of it, unwilling to leave even when his eyes grew heavy. When the stream finally ended, Moonlit lingered for a moment longer than usual. "Thank you for being patient with me tonight," he said. "I hope the night treats you kindly." The stream went dark. Ryan sat there, phone glowing dimly in the dark office, a heaviness settling over him. He thanks us every night, Ryan thought. But tonight, it felt personal. That realization unsettled him more than he expected. He lay down, sleep slower to come than it had been in days. His mind replayed the night over and over, the way Moonlit's voice had faltered, the quiet gratitude woven into his words. Ryan turned onto his side, staring at the faint reflection of the city in the glass. "I want him to be okay." The thought surfaced clearly, without hesitation. Not because Moonlit helped him sleep, not because of the comfort he offered, but because somewhere along the way Ryan had begun to care, quietly, deeply, without realizing when it had happened. When sleep finally claimed him, it was lighter, edged with concern rather than rest. And for the first time, Ryan wondered if Moonlit was sleeping peacefully too. Chapter 5. Behind the Screen. The announcement came without ceremony. Ryan was halfway through a late dinner in his office, takeout growing cold beside his laptop, when Moonlit's stream went live. The familiar logo appeared, but the usual hum of anticipation in Ryan's chest felt tight, uneasy. Moonlit didn't start with a greeting. "I want to be honest tonight," he said softly. "I might take a short break from streaming." Ryan's breath stilled. The words were calm, carefully chosen, but they landed heavily. "I don't know for how long," Moonlit continued. "Just until things feel quieter again." The chat stirred, gentle messages of support, crescents and hearts flooding the screen. Ryan stared at it all, pulse quickening beneath his ribs. No, the word echoed in his mind, sharp and sudden. He swallowed it down immediately, ashamed of the instinctive panic. He doesn't owe you anything, Ryan reminded himself. This isn't about you. Moonlit spoke again, voice warm despite the fatigue threaded through it. Thank you for being here with me. Truly. The stream ended earlier than usual. The silence afterward was unbearable. Ryan set his phone down and stood, pacing the length of his office. The city lights outside felt too distant, too cold. If he disappears, Ryan thought, chest tightening, will this just end? The realization unsettled him more than he expected. He wasn't just afraid of losing sleep again. He was afraid of losing him, the voice that had quietly woven itself into Ryan's nights. His phone buzzed. A notification. Moonlit has enabled private messages. Ryan froze. His thumb hovered over the screen. He stared at the message prompt, heart pounding, every instinct warning him that this was crossing a line. You don't need to, he told himself. But another thought followed, gentler and far more honest. I don't want him to feel alone. Ryan typed, Night Owl. Hey, I hope you're taking care of yourself. The message sent. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, Moonlit, thank you. I was hoping you'd message. Ryan's breath caught. He sat down heavily on the lounge chair, the room suddenly too quiet. Night Owl, I didn't want to intrude. Moonlit, you're not. You've been kind. Consistently. Ryan stared at the screen, warmth blooming beneath his ribs. Night Owl, you've helped me more than you know. The reply came slower this time. Moonlit, I started streaming because nights felt empty. Talking into the dark made them feel less heavy. Ryan leaned back, eyes closing briefly. So I wasn't the only one. Night Owl, nights are hard for me too. I work too much. Sleep doesn't come easily. Moonlit, I figured. Not the details, just the feeling. Ryan smiled faintly. The conversation flowed quietly after that, no rush, no pressure. They didn't share everything, just enough to build a bridge between them. Ryan didn't mention being a CEO. Moonlit didn't explain what weighed on him. They spoke instead about small things. Favorite night sounds, coffee versus tea, how silence could feel comforting or cruel depending on who you shared it with. After a pause, Moonlit typed, Moonlit, can I tell you something? Ryan's fingers curled slightly. Night Owl, of course. Moonlit, my name is Lucas. The name settled gently in Ryan's chest. Not Moonlit, not a voice. Lucas. Ryan stared at the screen, the weight of the moment pressing in. He typed slowly. Night Owl, I'm Ryan. There it was. His real name, offered without armor. The pause that followed felt infinite. Then, Lucas. It's nice to meet you, Ryan. Ryan exhaled, something inside him easing. They didn't talk much longer after that. The moment felt complete, delicate, something that could be broken if pushed too far. Before signing off, Lucas typed one last message. Lucas, if you'd like, maybe we could talk again. Not just here. Ryan didn't hesitate this time. Ryan, I'd like that. When the chat closed, Ryan sat alone in his office, the city humming softly outside. His phone felt warmer in his hand, heavier with possibility. For the first time, Moonlit wasn't just a presence in the dark. He was someone real, and the line between night and morning had never felt thinner. Chapter 6. Morning Light. They chose morning. It felt right somehow, neutral ground, free from the weight of night and all the things they had confessed within it. A quiet cafe just off a side street, open early enough that the city still felt half asleep. Ryan arrived 10 minutes early. He sat by the window, hands wrapped around a mug he hadn't touched, watching sunlight spill across the pavement outside. He told himself it was nerves, nothing more. He had faced boardrooms full of executives without breaking a sweat. This felt different. What if the voice doesn't match? What if it does? And I can't handle it. The door opened. A soft chime rang out, and Ryan's head lifted automatically. Lucas stepped inside. He was quieter than Ryan expected, not in presence, but in movement. He paused just inside the door, scanning the room, shoulders slightly tense as if bracing himself. He wore a simple sweater, sleeves pushed up at the wrists, hair still a little mussed from sleep. And then he spoke. "Ryan." The world settled. It wasn't just recognition, it was familiarity. The same warmth, the same careful cadence, now anchored to a face and a body and a real moment in time. Ryan stood, heart steadying in his chest. "Lucas." Lucas smiled, small and genuine, relief softening his features. "It's really you." They sat. Conversation didn't rush in. It arrived slowly, like the morning itself. They talked about small things at first. The cafe's coffee, the quiet of early hours, how strange it felt to put a face to a voice. "I kept thinking you'd be taller," Lucas admitted with a shy laugh. Ryan smiled. "I thought you'd be louder." Lucas laughed at that, the sound brighter in person. "I don't think I know how." They fell into a comfortable silence after that, neither of them rushing to fill it. Sunlight crept across the table, warming their hands where they rested near each other without touching. Ryan studied Lucas quietly. He looked less burdened in daylight, like the night weighed less heavily on him when he wasn't alone with it. "I want to say thank you," Ryan said finally. Lucas tilted his head. "For what?" "For staying," Ryan replied simply. "You didn't know who was listening. You just showed up anyway." Lucas's expression softened. "I think I needed it as much as you did." The words settled between them, gentle and true. When they stood to leave, there was a moment, hesitation hanging in the air like breath before a confession. Then Lucas stepped closer, tentative but hopeful. "Would you like to do this again?" he asked. "Not just mornings or nights, just us." Ryan didn't need to think. "I'd like that," he said. "Very much." That night, Ryan slept in his own bed. The city hummed beyond the windows, the room quiet and dark, but the silence no longer felt empty. He didn't open a stream. He didn't need to. He closed his eyes, Lucas's voice lingering in his memory, not as something distant, but as something real. Morning would come, and this time Ryan wasn't afraid of either. Epilogue. Still awake. A month passed quietly. Not the heavy kind of quiet that pressed down on the chest, but the gentle sort, shared mornings, unhurried dinners, the slow learning of each other's habits. Ryan discovered Lucas liked his coffee sweeter than he admitted, and always tucked his feet beneath Ryan's leg when they sat together on the couch. Lucas learned that Ryan slept better with the window cracked open and that he still worked too late, though not nearly as often as before. They didn't rush to name what they were. They simply were. When Lucas finally told Ryan he was thinking about streaming again, it happened on a lazy afternoon, sunlight pooling across the living room floor. "I miss it," Lucas admitted, fingers fidgeting with the hem of his sleeve. "Not the numbers, just the nights, being there." Ryan smiled softly. "Then go back. I'll be there too." Lucas searched his face as if making sure. When he nodded, the tension in his shoulders eased. The night moonlit returned. The familiar crescent moon glowed on the screen once more. Lucas adjusted the microphone, breath steady but eyes warm. Ryan sat behind him on the couch, close enough that their knees touched. "Good evening," Lucas said into the mic, voice gentle and sure. "Thank you for waiting." Ryan listened the way he always had, but now, he listened with his arms wrapped loosely around Lucas's waist, chin resting near his shoulder. When Lucas hummed, Ryan felt the vibration of it beneath his palms, real and grounding. Sometimes, when the chat slowed and the room grew quiet, Ryan leaned forward and hugged him a little tighter. Lucas never stopped him. Instead, he reached back blindly, fingers finding Ryan's shoulders, then sliding up to the nape of his neck. The touch was familiar, comforting, an unspoken "I'm here." When the stream settled into silence, Lucas would turn just enough to press a brief kiss to Ryan's forehead. Soft, unassuming, almost secret. Ryan closed his eyes every time. To the listeners, Moonlit's voice remained calm and soothing, unchanged. But Ryan could hear the difference. The warmth layered beneath it, the steadiness that came from no longer being alone. Sometimes, late into the night, Lucas would smile and say, "If you're still awake, I hope you're resting easy. Ryan always was. He listened from behind the screen and beside the man who had once been just a voice in the dark. The nights no longer felt endless. They felt shared. And when morning came, gentle and unafraid, it found them exactly where they were meant to be.
Thank you for listening under the same moon. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, you're always welcome here. Good night.